selling vacant land in Georgia. Hey guys, welcome back to another one of our videos. This is Brad from NorthGeorgiaLandBuyers.com and Arbor View Properties. North Georgia Land Buyers, we're actually an investor developer. We buy land all over the state of Georgia, not just in North Georgia. We just happen to be located in North Georgia. And if you have a property that you're interested in selling and you'd like to get an offer and chat with us about selling that property, we'll be happy to make you an offer on that property. You can go over to NorthGeorgiaLandBuyers.com, or you can click on the link below in the description and fill out the form there on our site. All right, so let's get to it today. Let's talk about selling vacant land in Georgia. Vacant land obviously is going to be land that there's like not anything, like typically not a structure on, right? Not necessarily vacant and that no one lives there, but usually there's not. It's just kind of raw land. Okay, that's another way people call raw land. It is just vacant land. So, if you're selling a piece of land, you, like I mentioned in some of the other videos, you've got a few different ways you can go about it, right? You can, list it yourself. You could put a for sale sign out front. You could put some ads out in, Facebook Marketplace or, there's local Facebook groups, that sort of thing. You could list it with a broker or an agent. I actually happen to be a licensed real estate agent in Georgia. I have been for a number of years, but I'm primarily an investor. Or you could go the investor route, sell it to an investor or a developer. Now, when it comes to selling your land, there's a little bit of a process to that. In most cases, many buyers, especially with land, are going to require a much longer due diligence period than selling like a regular single family home. Because when you're buying a piece of land, you got to figure out whether that land is viable or not, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it. Typically, we're going to run, soil tests, and we're going to get survey work done on it. And we're going to do a little bit of due diligence on the property to determine what we can do with it. We're going to look at the zoning. Can we even do anything with this property? I've received properties that people wanted us to make an offer on, and I looked at them. For example, here's a great example. I helped a friend of mine, actually my HVAC guy, buy a property a few years ago now. It's probably been 3 or 4 years ago now. He bought this property, and he bought it from some couple that had owned a larger kind of portion of properties, and they had divided it up into lots, and over the years kind of just sold individual lots off, and had put a couple mobile homes on a couple lots and were renting them out and whatever. Anyways, the couple was going through a divorce, and they were kind of selling off those last few homes on this sort of larger piece of land that they had bought a long time ago and split up, right? Well, they were getting a divorce and just, needed to liquidate all this stuff. So I helped my buddy work out a deal with his parcel of land. He bought this house and then basically totally renovated it, totally redid everything. A cool piece of property. It was actually across the street from his brother-in-law. So that was kind of cool. And anyways, they had always talked about buying this lot next to them. And we tried to work it in the deal up front, and she said, "No, I'm not interested in selling that parcel of land right now. I've got a builder who wants to buy that." And I'm looking at the land, I'm looking at the topography of the land, and I didn't even look at any of the surveys or anything like that. And I see there's like 2 creeks running down the middle of this property. It was a weird shape. There's really nowhere for access to this other than this one tiny little sliver. I'm just like, no builder's going to buy that lot. What is she talking about, right? So anyways, we said, okay, well, how about we give you an option on this? And she said, sure, no problem. So I think I worked out a deal for my buddy to basically, I think he gave her like $100 cash or something. We signed an option agreement, and he had the option to, or no, it wasn't an option agreement. Sorry, it was a first right of refusal. It was not an option agreement, excuse me. And basically we put in there that he had first right of refusal if she ever wanted to sell it, come to him first. So she did that, and then she went to go sell it, and she's like, well, I want to sell it for, I think it was like $100,000 or something. This was only like I think it's a 2 acre, it's not even quite 2 acre parcel of land. And in that area, land sells anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 an acre. Just depends on some factors, right? Okay, so, it's just under 2 acres. So let's call it best case scenario is probably worth 70 grand, right? And she wants to sell it for 100. And he has first right of refusal. So she comes to him and says, hey, I want to sell this land. I'm giving you the option to make an offer. And he makes her an offer of like 20 grand or 25 grand or something on it. And she says, heck no, I'm not taking any less than $100,000 for this land. And he's like, no one's ever going to buy that for $100,000. Like, you're crazy. So anyway, she ventures off to then go list this property with a real estate agent. And the real estate agent tries to sell it for a while. No bites, right? And then the real estate agent then goes and gets the survey work done on it. And if you know anything about construction and building and development, whenever you have a water, like a creek or a stream, there's typically a buffer on either side of that. And especially here in Georgia, a lot of municipalities have adopted a 75-foot undisturbed buffer on either side of the stream. So from the top bank of the stream, 75 feet out, 75 feet out. So a total of 150 feet plus whatever the width of the stream is. You can't put any impervious structure in that. That's driveways, houses, barns, whatever. You can't build anything within that buffer zone. This particular lot was like a pie shape, and it had two creeks that connected together and met in the middle. So the whole bottom of the property was completely eliminated by the buffer. Nothing you could do there. And basically the only accessible part of this property was this little tiny bit at the top, because the stream buffer on the other side went out past the property line and the stream buffer went in this way. So imagine like a Y shape. There was just this little sliver of land up here, but the road is down here. And in order to get to that usable portion up there, you had to cross the creek and you had to cross this crazy ravine. So it just wasn't a worthwhile property. And my buddy wanted to buy it just to have a bigger yard. It was adjacent to his. He was like, hey, I'll buy it from you for 25 grand. And I just want a bigger yard, right? I want to go ride my four-wheeler over there, take the dogs over there, whatever. The dogs can go play in the creek. Like, that's all I want it for, because it's not buildable, right? And she's like, no, you guys are crazy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sure, whatever, lady. And then she finds another real estate agent, because she thinks that the reason it didn't sell the first time is because her first real estate agent sucks. And she's got it out there for 100 grand and no one wants to buy it. And then my buddy calls her back and was like, hey, my offer still stands. And she's like, you're just making me a lowball offer like all the rest of those people are. And he's like, look, you can't build anything on this property. The only thing this is good for is to look at. That's it. Because these two ravines in here, no one's going to want to build a driveway that goes down a ravine. Plus, you're going to have to put in a big culvert pipe, the amount of grading work just to get to the other side of the creek. Plus, once you get to the other side of the creek, there's no sewer around here. So the property over there is not even big enough to put a septic system and a house on at the same time. There's just not enough room. The county would never, ever allow that to happen. So you basically have this worthless parcel of land. And mind you, they had carved out all these other pieces over the years and sold this piece off and that piece off. And there was a house here and a mobile home here. And they had like sold all those off. And this was basically the only lot that they had left of this greater piece of land that they bought. And anyways, to this day, I think she's on her third real estate agent now, trying to sell this property. I'm surprised that none of these real estate agents stopped her. I would have stopped her in the beginning and say, look, ma'am, no one's going to buy this. We could put it up for sale, but I'm not going to waste my time and effort to list this property for you that no one is going to buy, because they can't do anything with it other than look at it. And then B, the price you want for it is ridiculous. I can go down the street and buy a flat, improved lot with water and electric access right at the road to build my new house and pay $35,000 an acre. Why would I pay you $50,000 an acre for this that I can't even build anything on? It doesn't make any sense. So that's my story for today. Anyway, she's now on her third real estate agent, hasn't sold this property. So there are a lot of factors in selling vacant land that determine what you can do with it. Now, if you just want a piece of property that you can just sit and, that's nice and pretty, maybe none of that really matters, right? But at the end of the day, that is going to dictate the price and the value of that property, what it's worth, what can be done with it, right? Maybe it's not, maybe it could be timberland for like harvesting trees. Right now in 2024, the value of lumber and all that stuff, it's not really in the timber company's best interest to be harvesting timber right now. They've got plenty sitting in stockpiles, and there's just no reason for them to buy timberland at the moment. Now, I'm not an expert in the timber business, but I've just heard roundabout through people I know who, developers who clear land and have tried to sell off the timber, and the timber company's like, I don't want your land. I don't need your timber. I'll give you $1 for it. You know, they just want it for pulpwood. There's just no, in fact, I had a few trees on my property when I cleared it, and we gave it to a guy, literally gave it to the guy. He happened to have his little yard, like maybe a few miles away. And he was like, I mean, I'll come take it for pulpwood, but I'm not going to pay you for it. If you stack it up by the road, and that way I don't even have to get out of my truck, and I can grab it with my crane and put it in the back of the truck, and I don't even have to move, then I'll come get it for you for free. But otherwise, it's of no use to me, right? So anyways, there's things like that. Your access to, water, sewer, utilities, all that stuff is going to affect the value of it. Your topography is going to affect the value of it. All of those things are going to affect how you can sell this vacant land and how long it takes to sell the vacant land. Because remember, unlike a single family house or like selling a house, when you're selling land, your buyer pool is much, 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 much smaller. Your buyer pool is, depending on the size of maybe you only have a tiny little parcel of land, but developers aren't even interested in that at all. So developers are out the window, right? Then maybe you're looking at like a home builder, and a home builder is going to look at it to either build a spec home and resell it, or maybe they have a client who wants to build a custom home and they're looking at that property to build their custom home. Well, they're going to be looking at topography. They're going to be looking at soils, right? Whether they can put septic or build on it. Maybe it's not buildable at all. And they're going to look at access to utilities. And also they're going to look at frontage and access requirements. If you're like kind of off an easement and all that stuff, it may be less desirable for a potential buyer. So all of those things factor into selling a piece of land and what it might be worth and how long it's going to take to sell it. Because remember, the buyer pool is very small. You're waiting for that right person to come buy it. And as you eliminate certain segments of potential buyers, your buyer pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then it's still going to come down to price at the end of the day. So you got to look at other people around you and what they have sold their land for, what it has sold for, not what it is for sale for, but what it has actually sold and closed for. Because I've been in this business a long time, and I can tell you I've seen way more pieces of property that have been sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting for years compared to what's actually sold. You have to look at sold comparable properties. And we look at average kind of for improved versus unimproved price per acre is typically what we look at. So if you've got 20 people around you that all have their land for sale for between this price and this price, and then, maybe 3 in the last 2 years have sold, I'm only looking at what has sold. And I'm looking at what they sold per acre, and then I'm using that valuation to figure out what I could buy yours for. Because at the end of the day, anybody can list anything for sale for any price, but that doesn't mean they're going to sell it, right? I could turn around and try to list my house that I live in for $10 million. It ain't worth $10 million. Maybe some stupid idiot might pay me $10 million, maybe, right? But the likelihood of that happening is very small. So if I were to go list my house for $10 million, I'm going to be wasting my time. No one's going to buy it. And I'm going to get offers for way, 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 way less than that. And then I'm just wasting my time. So you have to think about that when you're selling the land. How quickly do you want to sell it, right? And how do you even want to waste anyone's time, right? And that's for you to decide. So I hope that helps you out. If you're interested in getting an offer on a piece of land, I would be happy to take a look at your land and make you an offer on it. You can go over to northgeorgialandbuyers.com, fill out the form there. There's also a link below in the description. We've done a bunch of other videos about land selling and all the things around it. So if you want to go over to North Georgia Land Buyers or go to our YouTube channel on our review properties, and there's a playlist called Land. All of those videos will be in there, and maybe that'll help answer some questions you might have about selling your property. So thanks again for checking out the videos. I'm Brad. I hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.